Hi, and welcome to another of my series of conversations. My name is John Cornicello, and I'm going live on most Mondays and Thursdays. Coming up later this week, my guest will be Seishu, who will talk about his new personal projects and his headshot business. On Monday, I have my favorite lighting instructors, David Bishu and Anders Hanola, coming on. Later in the month, I have invited Dale Bernstein, who assisted Irving Penn and Richard Avedon in the 1980s, among others, and he's going to be here to talk about that and possibly about wet plate collodion printing that she does right now. You can find more details at cornicello.com conversations. Another plug is my book, Anatomy of a Studio Portrait. It's now available as a PDF for only $8 or less, $7.99 at photowo.com. I'll put a link to that in the chat and in the description of the recording. But today, my guest is underwater photographer and digital printing artist Cheryl Walsh. So let's have a warm welcome for Cheryl. The quiet
Hi.
claps.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm going to start with my question to you is your photography a process or a product? Where do you get the most enjoyment out of it?
Oh, the process for
Uh-huh.
sure. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I don't take pictures underwater to get underwater pictures. I take pictures underwater because I like being underwater. So it's very selfish, and my poor models put up with a lot. But yeah,
Were you a diver or anything before
no,
this?
deathly afraid of the water and drowning and not being able to breathe. And
Yeah, yeah.
the ocean has things that want to eat people, and that is not the place for me. So it's all done in my swimming pool, and
Yeah.
it's a very controlled environment.
Yeah,
Very.
I've done all swimming pool too, but even there, sometimes you're working with other people and you get this current starts pulling you further into the deep end.
Oh
And
yeah.
I
Yeah.
realize, I'm weighted down with cameras and weights on my ankles and legs. And
Yep.
let me get out of this. I mean, that's the scary feeling sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done that before. That's why I don't work in other people's pools anymore. I
Uh-huh.
know my pool um, like the back of my hand. So I feel very comfortable there no matter what.
Yeah. How did you get started with that?
I had seen someone else do it, and not very well,
Hmm.
and was kind of, I don't know, challenged
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do it and do it better. And the very first time I did it was like, oh, this is going to be a problem. This is definitely going to be a problem because I liked it so much. So
Yeah. Yeah. Are the walls of your pool blue or do you color them or you hang some backdrops in there?
they're Pebble Tech
Hmm.
black,
Mm.
but I hang backdrops,
Uh-huh.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I've got a black polyester and a neutral gray vinyl.
Nice. Yeah, the gray is great because you can change it out afterwards in post.
Oh, yeah. 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 I tried working with white, it bounces too much light.
Hmm.
I don't like working with colored backdrops. Again, they affect the light too much.
Yeah. Do you use underwater lighting too, or do you just
I
rely on the
do.
sun? So
I
what are?
do. I have video lights,
Uh-huh.
and I had the owner of Iwa Marine, who makes
Hmm.
my underwater housing. I had him custom make housings for me for my lights.
Nice. They're over in
Yeah.
Germany, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I've used their underwater bags too. For a few years, I did underwater photography at a friend's house, but then he got tired of cleaning up the pool and had it turn out, and he's just really re-landscaping. So the pool's gone now. So
Oh, that's
the end of
heartbreaking.
in Seattle, we just had a short time period. I didn't use lights. We would stretch a bed sheet on poles above the pool and just get this
Hmm.
big soft diffuse light, and it really helped get rid of some of the backscatter
Yeah.
and the light.
Yeah.
These things you don't think about. There's all these particles in the water between you and the
Yep.
and the subject.
Yeah, I have a giant scrim that I put over the pool,
Hmm.
but that just, that diffuses the light, but it doesn't, there's no additive light there. So I
Right.
definitely use video lights.
Yeah.
I don't like strobe. I don't like
Hmm.
strobe underwater particularly.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you do your white balance?
Oh, that's so easy. So shoot everything in RAW
Hmm.
and put everything in Lightroom, select it all, and eyedropper right on the backdrop, whether it's black or gray, doesn't matter. It
Nice.
immediately takes care of it. Yeah.
That's great. That's a
Yeah, it's
great
easy.
tip. Have you ever tried any of the dedicated housings, the expensive ones, or you?
No, they wouldn't suit my needs at all.
Hmm. Okay.
So the things like iClite and
Hmm.
all of those are made for deep sea diving.
Sure.
So it's the pressure of the water that helps keep the seal, the
Hmm.
integrity of the seal. And I'm not going
Deep
underwater
enough.
deep
Okay.
at all. So that would not suit my needs.
Yeah.
And I switch out cameras.
Hmm.
I've gone through the entire 5D series. I've shot with the Leica last summer. So um, I want something that has a lot of
Flexibility.
flexibility. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I
Yeah.
like that because I've gone through a few different cameras.
Yeah.
What lens do you end up usually using for underwater?
I'm using the 2470.
Hmm.
I was on the verge of getting a 24, just a dedicated 24. Last year
Uh-huh.
at Palm Springs Photo Festival, Canon lent me a 24 and it was really nice.
Nice.
So I was thinking about that. But then Leica came out with their new SL.
Hmm.
And the plan was I was going to shoot with that this summer. And of course, then the world blew up.
Yeah.
And then Canon, I was hoping to get the new 5D Mark V, and that
Hmm.
didn't happen.
Happen.
So I don't want to get a new lens for my camera if I'm going to end up going mirrorless. So we'll
Right.
see. We'll
Right.
see.
Right. So water has a different refractive index than air. So is it make
Mhm.
the lens appear longer or shorter underwater? Do you have you thought of that?
There's a lot of science that goes
Hmm.
into underwater photography. It's an art and a science, and the science, knowing all the science is really important. I have read various bits of science
Hmm.
about that, about the quality of how the water affects magnification.
Hmm.
And I've seen it go both ways. And
Okay.
each person was absolutely convinced that they were right. So I'm at the point where I don't care.
Yeah,
It
that's
doesn't matter. I
right.
know what
You
works
get
for
the
me.
image.
I know where I stand in my
Hmm.
pool or sit on the bottom of the floor.
Yeah.
I know my distance between my subject and myself, and that's where I'm comfortable. And that just happens to be 24 millimeter.
Yeah. I used a 16 to 35. So I've,
I did for a while. I did for
uh-huh.
a long time,
Okay.
and it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you snorkel or do you have air or tanks or how do
No,
you
I'm just holding my breath.
that? Okay. That's
Yeah. I figure if my model has to hold her breath
okay. Hmm.
or his breath, then I
Yeah.
do too. So I try to be on the same sort of as much of the same discomfort level that they're at.
Yes.
Although I have it super easy and they have it
Uh-huh.
really hard. Yeah.
Do you have suggestions to your models on how to take a breath, how to get rid of nose bubbles and things like that when they first go down?
Yeah. For the most part, they're blowing all of their air out.
Hmm.
So they're going down with no air or as minimal as possible.
Hmm.
And that eliminates all of that.
So
Yeah.
once,
And then, then it's a matter of, it's not about posing so
hmm,
much as a feeling, how I want them to feel. I want them to feel proud
hmm,
and graceful and strong and competent and confident. Yeah.
confident and approachable, what we say for headshots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So your major project right now has been a tarot deck. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. It started as, I feel like everything I've done up until now has been practice
Hmm.
for one big project. And
Okay.
I've been looking for something for quite some time. And I was looking for a story and a story with interesting characters, something that belongs to the universe, not to a particular person or
Hmm.
company, and something I can use my creative friends that I work with regularly, where they could express themselves in their own way. So they could each bring their own flavor to the shoot,
Hmm.
and it just sort of fit the bill perfectly. And they were all very enthused about it. So we started just about a year ago, where I announced to them that this is what I wanted to do, and they were really excited. So we were supposed to start at the beginning of the year, and of course, the
Mhm.
world blew up.
Mhm.
So I'm just finishing up with the shoots now. But we started with the 22 major arcana, and I couldn't decide from the very first shoot. I couldn't decide, do I want to shoot it on a black background or a neutral gray? Because those are
Mhm.
two very different looks. So I figured, you know what, I'll do it on both. 22 is a lot, but I
Right.
can do, two sets of
Mhm.
each. A lot of times my images on black backgrounds are, just have some Lightroom adjustments to them, and they're otherwise straight out of camera.
Well.
So I figure, that won't require much editing. Piece of cake, right?
Mhm.
Well, then that turned into, it was suggested to me, well, you really need to do the minor arcana. There's, and more interesting characters. You can have more people involved. And because I had a long list of people who wanted to be involved, and I just didn't have enough room for everyone. So it's like, okay, well, I can do that. And then that turned into, oh, if you do the minor arcana, you have to do all the suits. So it went from 22 to 100. I'm
Mhm.
at 100 images.
Wow.
And I can't think of it that way, or it makes me sick. Yeah. Yeah.
So have
Um,
you have you found that you prefer the gray or the black ones now that you've done in all these? Or you
I have equally strong feelings for both. I love them both. Yeah, everything is turning out really well. I'm
Oh,
excited.
that's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah. I have pictures and I have some video that I can share my screen.
Sure.
I can share behind the scenes some video that I've done of the tarot project, or I can share my portfolio. What do you think?
Let's see some of the behind the scenes to begin with.
Okay,
And is there
so
video in that? So
let's,
in the share screen box, there's a checkbox for
yeah, let
view
me
video
get
nicely.
to see the video, and then I'm on a Mac here, so it's all weird. Command return. There we go. And there we go, share screen. All right, command return. Is it going to work? There it is. Share.
Okay, I see your Lightroom.
Okay, and command return. There we go. Okay, can you see?
Yep,
Okay.
the devil.
Yeah. So this is just Lightroom, using Lightroom to put together a slideshow of video. Yeah, so these are just, obviously unedited.
Mhm.
I put a GoPro camera on the side of the pool, and just let it go.
Yeah.
So just to show kind of what they're doing, what they're going through. That's a neutral gray vinyl backdrop and a helper there.
Mhm.
Every once in a while, you'll see a hand like reach down.
Here we are on
And
black.
then the black, yeah. Um, yeah, the neutral gray is a Savage
Mhm.
vinyl backdrop. But just to give an idea, the costumes,
I
the
was going to ask, yeah, I
props.
was going to ask about the costumes.
So each person involved made their own costume.
Well,
Yeah. I work with very, very amazing, wonderful, beautiful, talented, creative people. And I wanted each of them to have their own take on
mhm.
their card, their character. So this is all pretty much them, what they chose.
Mhm.
Some of the headpieces were made by Kaylee of Miss G Designs. This headpiece, this crown is by Fiore Couture. And with you could see them all slipping on the backdrop.
Sure.
It's
Sure.
vinyl, and it's hard. And they're down there for a long time. He's
Mhm.
looking straight into the light. I have the light just off to the side. And like I said, it's a video light, so it's constant light source.
Is it LED or tungsten or? You know?
It's LED, and I
Mhm.
can change the color balance, the white
Uh,
balance.
Yep.
So I can cool it down or warm it up
Mhm.
just depending on the outfit and the final look I'm going for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's tough to stay down. Your body wants to keep coming back up. You gotta
Yes.
fight
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. So this here is Seth. He is the husband of one of my models, and that's her arm grabbing him and pulling him back because he kept coming forward.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't realize how big a current can happen just in a small swimming pool.
Oh, yeah. And
You
it's a
know,
small swimming pool. It's not large at all.
right?
No.
But between you moving and them moving, it creates a current, and you think you're staying in one spot, and it's just
Right.
not happening.
Right. But and there she is right above him. So I've got a GoPro on the floor of the pool
Hmm.
shooting up, and that's her pulling him back. Yeah. Yeah. So they were a good part of this project.
So do you have 100 different models, or some taking two pieces?
No, no, I don't have 100 different models.
Okay.
My favorite regular models like Jessica here
Hmm.
and Rachel and Vanessa and Brian, and I mean I could go on and on. They each took three,
Hmm.
at least three
Three
each.
characters,
And
sure.
I let them pick. I put up a list and it's like,
Hmm.
okay, call dibs on what you want, on what's important to you and what's meaningful to you. And part of this, so this will become a tarot card deck.
Yep.
Here's Rachel. A tarot card deck and also a book. And part of the book will be extra pictures that aren't in the deck, but also stories about them and
Hmm.
their costumes, and then their take on each of their cards, what it meant to them, what it means to them, and why they put together the outfit that they did in their story.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Great. So let's look at the portfolio then and just show some things,
Sure.
and then we can
Let's
jump over
see.
to talking about printing them.
Okay. Let's see. Oops. Command, Control, Alt. Yeah, people. There we go. And this is just, oops, this is the wrong one. Hang on.
That's okay.
There we go. Command,
Jim's
return.
asking in the chat if you have an email list to be notified of the progress of the project.
You know, you would think that at this point, I would have gotten my act together, and I'm very well organized in
Hmm.
many things, but that is certainly absolutely not one of them. I
Is there a
had
Kickstarter?
my first gallery, solo gallery show a year ago, and have a tremendous email list from that, and have not organized it and put it together. And I
Mhm.
really need to do that.
Yeah.
This year has been, I don't know about you, but it's been interesting for me. um, I think for all of us. And, trying to figure out which direction, where I was going to focus my attention. And ultimately, it turned out to be this project, the tarot card project. But I had a lot of different options and sort of had some starts and stops. And so now that this is where my focus is,
Hmm.
that is one of the things on my to-do list
Yeah.
is, but you can go onto my website, cherylwalsh.art, and send me a message through that, and I'll have your email, and I'll certainly add it to my list. So this is just a wide variety of images
Hmm.
I've done over the years. um,
How deep is the deep end in your pool?
7.5 feet,
Oh,
so it's
that's
not deep at
yeah,
all.
yeah.
At all. This coming week, I have Hannah Mermaid, who's very famous mermaid, coming, and
Hmm.
between her and her tail, it takes at least 10 feet. So it's always interesting to
Hmm.
photograph her in that small space, but we make it work.
Yeah.
So this just shows over time, different, basically I see it all as practice. This was all
Mhm.
practice and
Sure.
experimenting, and what works and doesn't work, and what do I like and not like. And
Mhm.
I've done hundreds of shoots, over 300 shoots, and worked with well over 100 models. So, so
So
it's been a lot of
a lot of these seem to
experimenting.
have some added texture. Do you create your own textures, or do you have a favorite source of textures?
I really like flypaper.
Yeah. Okay.
I like flypaper a lot. And part of my philosophy with my art is supporting other artists. So if in the creation of my work, if I need, let's say, AA batteries, I'll go
Mhm.
to Amazon. But if I need something that really directly contributes to my work, my framer, my printing, costumes, the textures, all of
Mhm.
those things, I try to look for other artists and support them by purchasing through them.
Yeah.
So a lot of these are flypaper. Um, it's a small family-run business. And then a bunch of them I've created myself over time.
Yeah. So Ellen's asking what flypaper is.
Oh, go look it up. It is a rabbit hole of creativity. Yeah, it's a couple in, what country are they in?
I
I
don't
forget.
know.
Uh, Europe. They're
Mhm.
in Europe-ish. And they create these textures, and they're beautiful. They have a number of different sets. It's colors and textures, combinations. Um,
Yeah.
they're absolutely beautiful. So when I work on a neutral gray background, I add textures. I have a lot of photographs of clouds.
Mhm.
All of those I've taken myself.
Okay.
So I'll add those just to add a sense of depth and dimension. That's one
Mhm.
thing I've discovered over time that I really like, is that sense of depth.
Yeah.
And I can't create that in the water. I can't.
Mhm.
And for as much as I try to do this, as much as I can straight out of camera, that's really important to me. I don't want to mess with much of anything as far as post production goes. I have to color balance, add contrast,
Mhm.
sharpness.
The mirroring at the top, is that Photoshop,
That's
or is that from sitting on
no,
the floor of
that's the
the
way it is.
yeah, if you sit on the
That's
bottom and you get that reflection.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And if you flip the picture over, most oftentimes those are really ugly.
Mhm.
They're really unattractive. And I leave them like that. I don't change them. It's part of the story, the duality of life, the beautiful and the ugly. And for
Mhm.
everything that's beautiful, there's always something that's not quite so attractive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once you've taken all these photos, you do print a lot of your work.
I print all of my work.
Okay.
I print all of my work. Now, obviously, the tarot cards, I'm not going to be able to print all of those myself. I'll have a company do that, but I will make at least 2 sets of tarot cards on handmade Japanese awagami paper,
Mhm.
4x6, that come as individual sheets.
Where's that paper from?
It's awagami, so it's from Japan. I
Mhm.
purchase all of my papers through Freestyle Photographic Supplies in Hollywood,
Sure.
and they're the distributor for awagami. So
Okay.
that's where I discovered their papers. It
Yeah.
will be,
Does Freestyle still have their catalog available to people, or is it all online now?
they're doing all online now. It's
Okay.
been, of course, an interesting year for them as well, but they were moving away from the printed catalog for right now,
Mhm.
but their current catalog is still up there.
Yeah, my
You
friend
can get
Michelle
it as
Bates here in Seattle's done a lot of things
a
with
PDF. Yeah, there's an
them.
example of an straight out of camera, and then the editing that I did,
Mhm.
which was just you know, adding the textures and colors. Um, Yeah, so I will do at least 2 sets of cards that will be hand printed by me.
Mhm.
And for the book, I'll make at least 2 books where I hand print all of it and choose the papers
Yeah, so
for each print.
Cheryl's asking if it's the washi paper. Maybe Eric, you can put into the
Yeah.
chat the
Um, no, it's I forget the name of it.
freestyle URL.
But it's a handmade paper. I don't have one in front of me.
Mhm.
These little postcards, 4x6, and of course it's a natural decal edge because each individual sheet is handmade. And then they have the inkjet coating on them, but they're absolutely beautiful. They really are. They're not the easiest to print on, but
Mhm.
totally worth it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So did you create your own printer profile for them, or is there a profile available from Freestyle for
I
them?
have every single paper that I print on, and it's more than a dozen. I have gotten custom profiles, ICC profiles
Mhm.
made by Freestyle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
There is a tremendous difference between what the manufacturers um, offer
Mhm.
and a custom profile. They're just night and day, and they are absolutely the key to my success with printing, those custom profiles.
Yeah. And your other papers, you're working a lot with Canson?
Yeah, so Canson Infinity has been my favorite. They have my favorite papers, and for years I've been a fan of, you know, Platine fiber rag is a very there's nothing else like it on the market.
Mhm.
Nothing. It's a really special, unique, individual paper. And other papers can call themselves platine, but they're not. It's not the same. I like their edition etching rag, their printmaking rag. Um, Up behind me on the wall, I don't know if you can still see me,
Yeah.
but I'm currently doing some paper testing for what might be some new papers coming out
Mhm.
on the market that I'm not allowed to talk about at all. So if I were to move out of the way, you might be able to see that there's
They're probably
some.
just seeing your little thumbnail in the corner while the
Exactly.
slideshow's
Yeah.
running.
Yeah.
But when we get after the slideshow, we can see
Well,
them.
there's some, like I said, I can't really talk about
Yeah.
them, but it's really exciting.
Mhm.
Really exciting. We don't get new papers very often at all.
Yeah.
The last new paper was from Hanamile. It was their photo rag metallic. And that was what, 3 years ago now?
Well,
And
consider
it's a,
Hanamule's been around for 300 or 400 years.
yeah, so is Canson Infinity. They
Yeah.
each have a long history and legacy in paper making business. Um, and I do like Hanamile's photo rag metallic. It's really, there's nothing quite like it on the
Mhm.
market. There's nothing even close to being like it.
And it looks like you have a Canon printer behind you there.
I do. I have the Canon 4100, and then I also have the Canon Pro 1000 next to me as well.
Mhm.
So each printer size wise does its um, handles different sizes.
Yeah. What's the largest print size you usually do on the 4100?
44
Or 40,
inches.
44
Yeah.
inches.
So 44 by 64.
Mhm.
But generally I do 40 by 60. I don't like to print full bleed, but I have.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, but between the printers and the right papers and the right paper profiles, and I'm fully color managed,
Mhm.
that makes my printing process really easy, really easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
The biggest issue I run into, which I did with these images yesterday, uh, because the computer monitor is a low resolution device and a print is a high resolution image, I find mistakes in my prints that I don't see on my monitor.
Yeah.
So I found some mistakes in an image yesterday. It's like, oh, I never saw that
Know that
before.
before. Where'd that come from?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone in the audience have questions about what we've seen and so far here?
Well, I find it interesting. I live in a world of huge bodybuilders, tall, slender, beautiful fashion models, and flying in World War II airplanes. And
Mhm.
now I see from looking at your Facebook page, you kind of live in a different world also, because I
Mhm.
found a behind the scenes video of you doing the Koi Empress shoot,
Uh-huh.
and some woman posted this named Cara Tignaville.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
who's
That
who?
she's the model. Yeah.
Okay, it says she's the founder and managing director of the Singapore Mermaid School.
That is
So
her. She is the Singapore mermaid. Yes, she is. Yeah.
I'm wondering what other aspects are in your normal world that we don't would not think about. Number one, and number two, did you do this shoot with her in Singapore?
No, she came here. She came here and I shot her here. I've shot her 2 or 3 times now.
Yeah, mermaids are
And
quite popular up here in Seattle too. I've got at
Mhm.
least a dozen, maybe 2 dozen friends who have multiple mermaid tails.
Mhm. So yeah, mermaids have become a big part of my life. Who knew that that was going to be a thing? And mermaids, are great and fantastic. And then there's mermaids, and I won't go into that, but you know who you are and stop. Um, yeah, there can be some drama in the mermaid
Mhm.
community, to say the least. But the people that I work with are lovely and wonderful and very caring and creative and magical in their own way. But there are a number of different mermaid tail makers.
Mhm.
And my favorite by far is Finfolk Productions. They're in South Carolina, North Carolina, but it's twins, Abby and Bryn, twin girls. And I have twin daughters. So,
Oh, wow.
immediately I was kind of drawn to that.
Mhm.
But then when they were little girls, they wanted to be mermaids and they grew up to create mermaid tails. They have their own warehouse and production facility. They recently bought a printer to print their own fabric tails
Wow.
to take control over that process. They
Yeah.
make these silicone tails and hand paint them all. I mean, they're just truly artists. Absolutely. And it's not just talent, it's
Mhm.
talent and a lot of hard work and dedication and to their craft. And
Yeah.
they're very good at what they do, and they're wonderful business people, and I have the utmost admiration for them and what they're doing. Their dream was to be mermaids, and here they've created, thousands of mermaids around the planet and made other people's dreams come true. And I just love that. Absolutely love that.
So do you do any photography outside of the water?
I have a business photographing high school senior
Okay.
portraits. And so it used to be in a normal world that I would do that during the school year. And then during the summer, I would do my underwater photography. Um, with the underwater photography right now, I feel very comfortable working at a distance with the
Mhm.
people I'm working with. We wear masks in the water, the chlorine in the water kills the virus. So we're all very safe and comfortable. I
Mhm.
am not yet ready to photograph high school
Sure.
seniors at all. So I just don't think it's worth the risk. And so I put that business off for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or are
Any
there also makeup artists and hairstylists and costume designers that work specifically in these underwater type shoots that you do?
I'm very fortunate. There's Kara. I'm very fortunate that most everyone I work with, um, not only are they really adept at underwater modeling, but they're also creating their own outfits. They're doing their own makeup. Almost all of the hair you'll see here are wigs. I really like Epic Cosplay wigs. They're a plastic material that just floats in the water perfectly, and the color holds up, and we can do many shoots with the same wig over and over again. So I really like that company. Um, yeah, but most everyone is making their own. I do have a few designers that I've worked with separately. Like I said, Fiore Couture, I really like her work. She makes crowns and corsets metal out of metal. And there's a designer here who made these wings. They're made out of plastic water bottles. So it's
Mhm.
all recycled. You can go find his link on my Facebook. And then this is Mather. She is a singer in a band and songwriter, and she made that outfit. And then I also really love Nicole Fullerton Carnes from Pendragon Costume. And she
Mhm.
makes all of the Victorian and steampunk creations that I've used. And those aren't made to go underwater, and yet they all come out. And I've used them multiple times. They come out of the water just perfect, beautiful, and I can use them over and over again. This tail here is covered in crystals, and that's another Finfolk production. Just thousands of crystals,
Mhm.
beautiful. But like Rachel, she made this outfit here. Um, The wings are by Fancy Fairy Wings and Things, and those are all individually made by an artist, Angela. This gown was made by Vanessa, who's another model of mine. Her business is Creature of Habit, and she makes gowns. Here's it's a very famous metal corset and crown by Fiore Couture, modeled by Jessica.
So how do you test your underwater housing and keep it safe and
So I tell everyone with all underwater housings,
Mhm.
it's never if they're
If
going to
it's
leak,
when?
it's when.
Yep,
Yes.
exactly.
And you want to be ready for that, and be prepared. With the Ewa Marine system that I use, it's a vinyl housing, it's
Mhm.
soft sided. So if it springs a leak, if there's any kind of leak, it's a slow drip.
Mhm.
With the hard case siding housings, if you get a leak in that thing, it just sucks in all
Floods.
the water and you're done.
Yeah.
It's over. So, so yes, I've had some leaks. Almost all have been my own fault,
Sure,
user error.
the bar on the top not being totally tightened or something like that.
Yeah, or having dropped it with the
Mhm.
camera in and gotten a little pinhole, and
At least
put
with
something else on top of it that I shouldn't
the
have.
Uh-huh.
But I've got vinyl patch. I can patch it right up
Yeah,
again.
just watch for bubbles.
Yeah,
You see bubbles
yeah.
coming out.
And then they come with little silica packs, and I put those in the bottom of the housing, and I check that on a regular basis. I
Mhm.
come up and I'll tilt it and look to see if there's any
Yeah.
water in
I
there.
used
Yeah.
to put some paper towels in the bottom of
Yep, I've
the
done
lake
that too. Yep.
and see if they stay dry, I'm good.
Yeah. So, and especially when you've done so many hundreds of shoots,
Mhm.
something is bound to happen, and it has.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anything else you want to say about the underwater or about the printing, or is there another
To me, the most important topic in digital photography today is photographers printing their own work.
Mhm.
Um, we just
Creating a
started
legacy?
talking a little bit about the mirrorless cameras. That's not even a discussion,
Mhm.
really. It's a consumer electronics product. So it's either you use one or you don't. Every camera we have today, modern cameras, they're all amazing. They're all great. I
Mhm.
really don't honestly believe at this point that you're going to get a better photograph with a better camera.
Sure. I mean, but that's been that way for a long time. Even in the
Yes,
70s, I would say, the cameras are better than we are. They can do more than we can.
absolutely. Just recently, I went back to using my 5D Mark III underwater.
Mhm.
Um, and it reminded me of why I upgraded to the 5D Mark IV.
Focusing.
Yeah, it was a nightmare, absolute nightmare. And it was, okay, this is why I upgraded. Now I remember. The camera I have now is great. I think I would like to try the new mirrorless,
Hmm.
just for ease of use, just to make it easier for me.
Yeah.
I'll experiment and see if it's worth upgrading to or not.
Yeah, I mean, outside the water, I don't know how it'd be underwater, but when I work on a tripod all the time now,
Mm-hmm.
and I said treat it sort of like my view cameras. I stand to the side. I have a big display on the back, and I just keep it in live view. I very rarely put my eye up to the viewfinder anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and that's helpful for talking to your subjects too, because especially with the mask on, between a mask and hiding behind the camera, you're just mumbling like this, and people have no idea what you're saying. So now I can actually have a conversation with the subject.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm
Yeah.
enjoying that aspect of it.
Yeah. 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 So, but again, that's just the tool. The final product is the print.
Hmm. Jim's
And
asking if you've used metallic papers.
um, only the Hanamile's Photorag Metallic. That is
Okay.
the only metallic paper that I'll use. And I don't use it for everything. I've
Hmm.
found that with images that have a lot of blue in them, it does nothing for me. But if it's golds or greens, then it glows.
Wow.
Yeah, big difference. No, my primary papers are Canson Infinity's Platine fiber rag
Hmm.
edition etching for more of a watercolor type paper with a little bit of texture to it. Um, and printmaking rag, which is more of a velvet finish to it. But like I said, I have some new papers maybe up on the wall behind me that will change some of my
Yeah,
preferences,
we'll come
have
back and
changed
talk
some of
about
my
them in a month or two or
preferences.
whenever.
Yeah, hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Really exciting advances in paper. And I didn't think there could be any more advances as far as, with the exception of coatings like the metallic, Photorag metallic, but this is nothing like that. This is alternatives and advancements with existing types of paper.
Hmm.
I'll put it that way.
That's an interesting one showing now the hanged man upside down.
Yes, that is Griffin.
Okay.
And I still don't know how he did this. And he did it on both backdrops, and he did it at least 2 times on each
Wow.
backdrop. And I don't know how he did it, but he
Hmm.
came out of the pool and he put his head over, and just all this water came out of
Yeah, I was going to
behind
say
his.
the nose must have.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. But I wanted to do video on these because I hear this all the time. Your photographs aren't real.
Hmm.
They're all photoshopped, and no, they're not. They're not. They're
Yeah.
as straight out of camera as I can possibly get. Um, the lighting, the exposure. I mean, obviously, with an image like this, which is Hermit, I'll add a light
Hmm.
to that. Yeah, but video shows
Yeah.
what they're accomplishing, what they're doing.
Yeah. Jim's asking if you've ever used the person reaching in as part of the image.
No, no, nope. They're my helpers and my
Yeah.
safety person, but no, I'm creating a very specific image. I
Hmm.
look at this as portraiture in a studio.
Yeah.
So it's traditional studio portraiture that just happens to be underwater.
Hmm.
So the rules of posing and lighting all apply. And
Yeah.
my poor models, I'm always, think of your hands, your hand
Hmm.
posing, face, feet, all of that is really important.
While holding your breath and trying not to drown.
Exactly. Yes, looking relaxed and yeah.
So on that line, Joe is asking if you can describe some of the safety considerations you think of and go through.
Sure. Safety is more important than anything else. I always have a safety person there. And in this time of COVID, I can't use my regular safety people. So each of these models had to bring their own safety person, someone that either they live with or they're very comfortable with, because you can see the back of the pool there. That person is just kneeling right beside the pool. So my models, when they're done, they just put their hand up out of the water and that person grabs hold of them and pulls them up. There really is not much of a risk of drowning in my
Hmm.
pool at all. Um, it's only 10 feet across. So, and
Yeah.
they're right against the edge there. It's 7.5 feet deep. I could easily swim over to them and help them in just a few seconds. So I'm not worried about that. I don't use strobe. Like I
Hmm.
said, I don't feel comfortable
Sure.
with the power that's in a strobe around a pool. Um, that's just not my
Yeah.
thing. I use
Are
a video light.
are they battery powered?
The
The video
the
lights?
Yeah, my video
Hmm.
light's battery powered and it's in a dedicated housing.
Right.
It's safe. The battery is up, out of close to being out of the water.
Hmm.
Um, Water wouldn't get to it. So, um, but the biggest issue I run into is almost no matter how warm the water is, the core temperature in the body is warmer than the water. So, um, we could be working for hours sometimes and the models will start to get cold. So
Hmm.
it's making sure that, that they're safe.
Yeah. What
And
temperature do you tend to keep your water at?
it's in, 86,
Hmm. Okay.
somewhere in there, 86, 87. It depends on the time of year and the temperature of the ground and the temperature of the air. So I
Yeah.
have a heater, but all of those other temperatures play a dramatic role in how the water reacts to
Hmm.
the temperature of the water.
So you're in Southern California, correct?
Yeah, I'm in Orange County.
Okay. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
probably a little warmer there than Seattle.
definitely. Definitely. And I can shoot year round.
Hmm.
I just have to be very aware of of my model's core temperature
Yeah.
and what's happening. And most of these, you know, women are very fit. They're dancers.
Hmm.
They exercise a lot. They have very little body fat to keep them insulated from the cold water. I've got plenty of body fat, so I can stay in there all day. But for them, it's keeping an eye on them and making sure they're not getting
Hmm.
cold, watching the color of their lips, if they're shivering, if they're shaking, if they can stop or
Yeah.
not.
Do you
And
wear
I
a
have a hot
wetsuit or
shower.
anything like that when you're in the pool, or just a swimsuit?
Hmm? I'm
What do
sorry.
you wear? Are you?
Oh, so I consider this a job.
Hmm.
And just like shooting a wedding or a high school senior, I would never show up in a bathing suit.
Hmm.
So no, I don't wear a bathing suit. I don't think that's appropriate. I
Hmm.
wear a long sleeve, high neck, black rash guard and black neoprene pants
Hmm. Okay.
and a weight belt and ankle weights.
Yeah, the weights is something my first time I never really thought of because
Yeah.
everything's so buoyant because there's air in the bag with the camera. It wants to keep floating up. You want to keep floating up. Sometimes I've ended up upside down myself.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
whoa,
It's
where am I?
science. It's all science and it's really consistent. And I love that. I love science. I
Hmm.
love science. So the idea that there's a formula that I've worked out for all of this. What's the temperature of the air? What's the temperature of the ground? What's the temperature of the water? What time of year is it? Where's the sun? Is it directly overhead? Is it at an angle like it is now? What's the color temperature of the sun, which changes during the year and then also during the day? Um, and then what kind of background am I using? What kind of person am I working with? Rachel
Hmm.
here is a trained dancer. She has a lot of muscle
Yeah.
and really good bone density. So, each of these people floats or sinks, their buoyancy is different. And then working all that together.
Yep.
And then for me, you know, um, how much weight do I need on me, which can fluctuate from time to time,
Hmm.
depending on my percentage of body fat, and then the clarity of the water, having a
Yeah.
balance between having chlorine, because I don't have a saltwater pool, I don't want
Okay.
one. Um, so having a balance between the chlorine that's in the water so much that it clears it up a little bit, but not so much that it burns their eyes or ruins the outfit. So,
Right. Yeah, Becky just asked that in the chat. Are there things you need to do to the water to avoid a haze from chemicals or the sun?
oh yeah, so I keep it covered with a solar cover all the time. Like I said before, I love my kids, but my pool, my quality of my water, they grew up having to make an appointment to use the pool because I need, you know, 48, at least 48 hours around shoots.
Mhm.
To have the water clear up. I've got a special filter on it, a dual pump. That water has to be as clean and clear as
Yeah.
absolutely possible. Everything that goes into the water has to be, including the people, have to be scrubbed clean.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's all a science,
Yeah.
and that's
How long have you been doing the underwater work?
it's been about 10, 12 years,
Wow.
somewhere in there.
Okay.
And it took a while to figure it out. I'm a slow learner. So, you know, like you said, the first time you go in with no weights on, it's like, wait a minute, I'm
Mhm.
hanging upside down
Yeah.
here in the water. And then why am I struggling so much with the housing? Oh, I can put
Mhm.
weights in there. And,
Yep.
you know, and it was just adding one thing at a time. And I finally got it all dialed in a few years ago. And now it was just looking for the right story to
Mhm.
tell.
Have you talked to Jeff about coming back to Palm Springs next year?
Yes, yeah, I was all signed up. I had a full class workshop again this past May, and that obviously got postponed till
Sure.
September, and then it went online. I loved it, and I would love to go back.
Hmm.
Palm Springs Photo Festival is one of my favorite weeks of the year, that and
Yes, me too.
WPPI. And those are two polar opposite worlds in the
Exactly.
photography.
Exactly.
And I love them both.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's just an invaluable experience for a portrait photographer or a fine art photographer, and especially to experience both.
Do
You
you
know, I
do other
love,
teaching? Do you do private
I
lessons or
have,
anything like that?
yeah, I've taught for Canon at their learning center in Costa Mesa,
Hmm.
different conferences around the country, been over to Europe for Photokina. So, you know, I've been around. Right now, my focus is this project
Sure.
and getting this completed as quickly as possible, but treating this like my masterpiece. This will be my masterpiece.
Yeah. I mean, I've been enjoying watching the videos here so much.
And this is why, you know, people ask, why do you work underwater? This is why I work underwater.
Hmm.
I sit there and I watch this. I mean, what a better way to spend time than watching this. And none of these have been slowed down. This is real time. This is what I see when I'm in front of them. This is, you know, the GoPro cameras to the side of them, but I'm in the front and watching this happen in real time. And it's just stunning. It's beautiful.
It is.
Yeah. So, you know, but for me, I am far more interested in teaching printing
Hmm.
than underwater photography.
Sure.
So the underwater I'll teach once a year at Palm Springs Photo
Hmm.
Festival. But other than that, I want to talk about printing.
Yeah. I mean, printing's
And
something everyone
there's
needs.
a real lack of printing education out there. A lot of misinformation, so
Hmm.
much misinformation. And it feels like climbing up a mountain trying to get the right information out there.
So what's the most frustrating thing you hear about printing?
That it's not easy,
Oh,
that it's expensive, that you're doomed to failure, that a professional lab can do a better job than you can at home. None of those things are true. That color management is hard, it's difficult, it's complicated. I mean, it's not. If I can do it, if I can do it,
Yep, that's what I tell people too. I mean,
anyone can do it. I searched for 12 years to find someone to teach me how to print.
Mhm.
Um, Print competition, WPPI's international print competition, has been really important to me in my development as a photographer, becoming a better photographer. When you really understand what print competition is for, and that is getting unbiased feedback
Mhm.
to improve your skills, then that to me has made a bigger difference than anything else, as far as improving. And every year I got better and better, and it finally got to the point where it was the print quality was the issue. And having other people print for me, I could get some nice prints, but it was never quite what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And I did everything I was supposed to do and told to do, and spent thousands of dollars and time and effort and a lot of tears doing what I was supposed to do, and not being able to make a print that was what I envisioned.
Yeah.
And drove me, made me really sad, really sad. I'm a reasonably intelligent person, and I don't mind working really hard to learn how to do something. I worked really hard to learn how to do underwater photography. I put a lot of effort into my work. Why can't I get it on a piece of paper?
Mm-hmm.
So finally, somebody told me, look, I've got a guy
Bet this guy.
that, you can go to, and he'll teach you. And I was like, oh, yeah, right. And I went to him. He made one print for me, handed it to me, and all I could do was cry. It changed my whole life in one moment, that this person I've never met before, who didn't do anything to my file, printed my image perfectly beyond my wildest expectations. And I just sat there and cried. And it was just so profound. It changed me as a photographer
Yeah.
completely. And I went from having no money, no resources, nothing to be able to make that happen, to I will do whatever it takes to be able to create this. Why bother making any of these images if I can't make a print like this?
Mm-hmm.
And that was Eric Joseph from Freestyle Photographic Supplies. And he said, okay, well, there are a few things you'll need to purchase, that you can purchase to make this process better. And most of it's learning. So I went home and did a Kickstarter and sold prints on my crappy old printer, and told people, look, this is the best I can do with the printer that I have. And there we go. With the printer that I have. And
Yeah, if you want, you can stop the share and then we can see you again and we can see the prints behind you.
okay, I have to find you. You're behind my camera. Yeah, so I did a Kickstarter, and people were very kind and generous to. There we go.
There you are.
Yeah, so very kind and generous, and supported me. And I was able to purchase a printer just like that one, and everything that I needed. And the biggest thing was the education, was the information.
Mm-hmm.
He was the only person that I've found, and have since found, who really understands the entire process, who's dedicated his life to the process of printing and teaching photographers how to print.
Well, I think we have someone should be a new guest on the show.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And he talks about it in a way that is easy to understand and friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a photographer himself, so he understands. I had talked to dozens of people in the industry, and was sort of told repeatedly, and was told literally once, honey, don't worry your little head about it. Like I wasn't capable of printing my own work.
Sad. Yeah.
And, tell me I can do something and I might question myself.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me I can't do something. And oh no, it's going to happen. Yeah, it's going to happen.
Yes.
It's a challenge.
Great.
So, so I asked him to be my mentor, and he became my mentor. And I've spent the last few years learning everything I possibly can about the process of printing, printers, inks, paper.
Yeah, and if people go to Palm
profiles.
Springs, that's Eric's usually there too, isn't he?
Yeah. They're over at the Karakia
great place.
printing work. Oh, I love that place. Yeah. So but I've done everything I can to try to get this information out there. I want other photographers to have the experience that I had of having that moment of seeing your work printed like you've never expected it could be. And that was after years of having very high expectations, seeing prints at international print competition, prints that were some of the best in the world, and wanting my work to look like that.
Mhm.
And now I can. And now I'm fully color managed. It's very straightforward. Every print that comes out of my printer is perfect print. Now I might have mistakes in them that I missed.
Sure,
I
sure.
might have the occasional user error, but technically speaking, the print themselves, they're exactly what I'm expecting. I don't waste any paper. I don't waste any ink.
Nice.
And it's a fulfilling process.
Mhm.
People talk about the magic of the dark room. I could care less. I didn't like the dark room at all.
Same here.
I do, and I'm fine with that print head going back and forth and watching the print come out. And to me, that's magical.
Yeah, I
That's
enjoyed doing
magic.
art darkroom work for other photographers that I work for, but I never did any for myself. Yeah, so it's
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So my goal is to encourage and educate other photographers to print their own work. It absolutely makes you a better photographer. And it's such a fulfilling feeling. It
Mhm.
really is. Um,
Great.
there's nothing like it.
Well, we're at the top of the hour here. Is there any more questions from the audience?
I'm curious, do you have commercial clients, advertising, editorial, who commission shoots from you and or license images? Second part, how and where and to whom do you sell your prints?
So I have done some paid work, commissioned work, both for individuals and commercial. That's not where my interest lies. I take a limited number of private commissions a year, and I won't go beyond the number that I've set for that. Um, that's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in creating my own work, um, what I want to do. And I've licensed some work based on that. I sell prints. I sell prints from my print shop online. I sell anything from mermaid prints to little girls who want a mermaid print on their wall, or all the way up to 40 by 60s that are fine art prints that are elaborately framed in people's homes. I've got a series of images that are on a yacht of a billionaire. So I've got a really wide variety there of people who purchase my work. And then this tarot card project will, like I said, it'll be a Kickstarter. So I'll offer decks of cards, but then also fine art prints, a book. So it'll be a variety of work.
Other than for your printer and printing equipment, have you done other Kickstarters?
I have. I do one every year. I have a calendar that I make every year and I just offer it on Kickstarter. For me, that's much easier. I'm doing all of it at the same time. I'm having it printed. The calendar I don't print myself, but I'm having it printed by a company. I then know how many to have printed, and I'm mailing them all out at the same time. So that's a lot more convenient. But I've had Kickstarters for prints, for postcards, little cards, all different types.
Great.
One little question.
Yeah.
Saltwater pool?
No, chlorine, very specifically. So salt is chlorine. It's another form of chlorine, but the molecules are larger. And those molecules build up in the pool equipment over time. And that leads to larger molecules in the water. And I go to great lengths to keep my water as pure and clear and clean as possible. I would notice molecules. I notice atoms in the water. So no, I did a lot of research on that, on the type of filter system I have, all of that. And it's all very, very specific for what I do. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yes, thank you from all of us. This has been really informative and beautiful to look at. I really
Oh,
enjoyed
thank
this
you.
conversation. Thank you.
It's
Is there any
very
last,
interesting.
yeah, is there any last words you want to leave folks with here?
No, I just really want to encourage photographers to get educated on printing and to print your own work, and don't underestimate how life-changing it can be, and enjoy what you do. Enjoy what you do.
Sure,
There
yeah,
isn't really a thing as underwater portrait photography, and yet I made it into something that suits my personality and my needs. So
hmm
figure out what it is you enjoy doing and do it.
perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank
Again, I'll
you.
be back on Thursday with Seishu and his personal projects and headshots, and lighting next week with David Bishu and Anders Hanola. Really looking forward to those. So hope to see you again soon. Tell your friends about us. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.